This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we are continuing with the quite lengthy chapter 5 in Shaar Habechina. That is the gateway of introspection, of awareness, of opening our eyes to all that going on around us and gaining a profound appreciation and actually awe of God and this world. Umimalo taseichel, right? Talking about the mind that God gave us. And this is something that he'll probably touch upon later on. But if we're just animals and it's simply a matter of survival of the fittest, you look at all the things that go on in our mind, right? The want for honor, right? Like what is that? How does that play? How does that help survival of the fittest? But rather we see that there are these psychological, emotional, soul aspects that are inherently part of what we are. And from the loftiness of the seichel of the human mind, shebo yasig ha'adam kol musagav hamuchashim v'hamuschaliim, that a person is able to attain the things that he needs, whether we're talking about physical or
You got,
non-physical. Melvin, you with me? We have the place?
no, I don't have the place. What number is it? What is it? The second treatise?
It's it
No,
is the
five.
gate. Yeah, chapter 5.
Yeah.
Kathy, are you there on Safaria?
Hello,
I am, but
Melvin.
I'm having a hard time finding it too because I thought you were on 533 when we left last week.
Okay, so I'm going to put the record on pause for a moment. Let me open up Safaria.
This conference will now be recorded.
So those in Safaria, we're on chapter 5 of Shaar Bechina, which they call, what do they call that? The gate of what? Introspection, observance.
Duties of the heart. It doesn't say.
No,
Yeah, but
the 33 among benefit through understanding man obtains his knowledge of all things perceived by the senses.
okay, good. So it's chapter 5 of Shaar Bechina, and it is paragraph 33.
Yes.
Okay. Again, the advantage of the seichel that a person is able to attain kol musagav, all of his needs, all of his that he wants to attain. Hamuchashim, those which are of physical nature. Vamuskaliim. Uvo yireh mashenelam mechushav hagashmiim min haniraot. And our mind allows us to understand things that are hidden, that are beyond our physical senses. Kinesiyat hatzel, right? The first example, I prefer the second example. The fact that the shade of the sun moves. As long as you stare at that shade, you're not going to see it moving. But we know that it is moving because if over time it moves from point A to point B, then even though it is imperceptible, it is moving. Umase hatipa achat min hamayim b'tzor hachalamish, and the effects of a single drop of water on a harsh stone, right? And that, of course, reminds us of the famous story that's told about Rabbi Akiva, the great sage Rabbi Akiva, before he was the great sage Rabbi Akiva, when he was the ignorant shepherd named Akiva. And he was moved by something. And the Gemara, the Talmud tells us that what moved him was that he saw a large rock and there was a little drip of water that kept falling onto that rock. And he saw that those drops of water had created a hole, had broken through this large rock. And as the story goes, he said, if water can penetrate a stone, then the words of Torah that are compared to water can certainly penetrate my heart. So there are many different views. But what did he see that moved him? What about that moved him? And a very beautiful explanation is that Rabbi Akiva had tried times before to get himself moving with the learning, with the Torah, but he always felt, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not accomplishing anything. And therefore, he lost his motivation. But when he saw this incident, this that he saw with the water and the stone, what does each drop do? It can't be each drop does zero, because then a billion times zero would be zero, and it would have had no effect whatsoever on the stone. But he realized that even though it might be imperceptible, it is having an effect. And when you add up all of those imperceptible effects, then these drops of water can drill a hole right through a stone. And therefore he realized that even when he had made attempts and he didn't feel he was getting anywhere, I'm not accomplishing anything, he was able to realize that even if he doesn't sense it, it is having an effect. And if he'll stick with it and persevere and do, then it will have an effect. And it certainly did. He married the daughter of Kalba Savua, who's one of the wealthiest men in the world. And this Kalba Savua disowned his daughter because she had the audacity of marrying this ignorant shepherd. And the Gemara tells us that their wedding night, they were in a barn. Imagine the opulence that she was accustomed to. They were in a barn, and Rabbi Akiva was picking straw out of her hair. Akiva was picking straw out of her hair. Suddenly there's a knock on the barn door. They go see. Who is it? There's a person there saying, my wife's giving birth, but I need some straw for her to lay down on. Can you please give me some straw? And they gave him some straw. And the Gemara, the Talmud tells us that actually that was Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Navi, who came to show them that no matter how little they might have, there are those who have less than what they have, and they must be appreciative of what they do have, and not long for that which they don't have. She sent him to learn for 12 years. She sent him to learn for another 12 years. He came back 24 years later as the great Rabbi Akiva with thousands upon thousands of students. But our eyes can't see that a drop is making a difference, but our minds understand that. So our mind allows us to see those things that are ne'ela mechushim agashmiyim, those things that are hidden from our physical senses, like the movement of the shade we said, and ma'aseh hatipa achat, and the effect of a single drop of water bitsur hachalamish onto a stone. Ubo yavdil, and our mind allows us to differentiate bein ha'emet v'hasheker, between truth and falsehood, bein ha'yeter v'hacheser, more and less, tov v'ra, good and bad, hameshubach v'muguna, that which is praiseworthy, that which is deserving of condemnation, uvein ha'ra'ui v'ha'efshar, and between that is proper, that which is possible, v'ha'nimna, and the impossible. Ubo yavid sharmine chayim, and we're able to harness the usage of other animals, other living things, b'toalotav, for our benefit, v'hanaotav, and for our pleasure. That we're able to harness. Our mind allows us to do that. V'yakir mikomot kochavim, and we could gaze up and gain an understanding of astronomy and the placement of the stars, v'yamod al merchakehem utnuat gilgalehem, and on their distance and on their movement. And all of this allows us to be in absolute awe of this world, of this creator, of just the magnificence and the magnitude of all that exists. V'yavin ha'arachim v'hakashot shebechachmat hashiur, and we're also able to understand different relations in mathematics and in engineering, mechanical handasa, Hashir v'atzurot hamofet asher b'chachmat. Just 1 second. Asher b'chachmat ha-dibur, and the wisdom that goes, we'll soon go into detail with this, in terms of our ability to speak. V'shar ha-chachmot ha-malachot sheyaroch zichran, and all these other wisdoms and abilities that we won't that we can't even go into. V'chein, and similarly, Shaar kol midot ha'adam, all these different aspects of humankind, kasher tivchanan, that when we look into them, timtzena betachlit hatakana vatoelet lo, how they are perfectly arranged for the benefit, for our benefit, as we mentioned, kasher zacharnu b'seicha. The achar came, and then chashov b'mashe tiv bo elokim la'adam b'dibur, speech, right? Animals communicate. Animals communicate. That's true. They chirp, and there's a warning signal. There's a mating signal. There are all these different signals. And whales can send these sounds, and it can travel for miles and miles in the water. They do communicate, but that's not speech. What is unique about humankind, actually, it says that when God created Adam as a nefesh chaya, as a living being, the Targum, the Aramaic translation is Ruach Mimalala, one with an ability to speak. And actually, the categories that we have the inanimate, we have the vegetation, we have the animals, and we have the Medaber, the one who can speak, not simply communicate, but actually speak. Let's see what we mean. The Hastarat Hadvarim, and to arrange matters, to arrange our words. Asher yalitz bahem al ma sheyesh b'nafsho uvematzbono, that we're able to express through them that which we're feeling in our heart, in our soul, in our thoughts. V'yavin mehed bahem inyanei zulato, and from this I can understand what is going on with someone else. I don't just exist in my own head, in my own world. I'm able to really understand what someone else is feeling, what someone else is experiencing through the way that they could express that to us. The halashon, and the tongue, kulmus, halev, which is the quill of the heart. Ushliach hamatzvon, and it is the emissary, the agent of one's thoughts, of one's inner self. Without speech, we would not have companionship, though there is a lot of companionship in just being next to someone else. Right? Certainly when it comes to the mitzvah of nichum avelim, of giving comfort, there the mitzvah is to be quiet, but just to be there. And actually, I'm on the Nach Yomi cycle now. We're learning the book of Job, and after his 3 friends each offered their explanation in the first round, right? His response is, according to the way some explain it, right? I didn't need your words, right? Your words are not helping me, right? But your presence, that would have been something. Sometimes you don't have to talk, right? And very often, people come to me, right? As if I have the answer, as if I know any better than them. But nevertheless, when you listen to someone and you're there with someone, they walk away feeling better. And that's not just the rabbi, that's any one of us with our friends and our family and other community members. Sometimes people know there's no answer that you can give, there's no magic bullet, but your presence. But certainly when one can talk without being able to speak, so then that whole camaraderie, that whole bond that is formed, behema, in which case we be like an animal. Uvedibur yira'eh yitron bein b'nei adam, and speech also is often an indication of who that person is. Though sometimes you have people who are very, very brilliant, but can't speak very eloquently, and others who are not so brilliant, who might be able to speak eloquently, but typically with what comes out of one's mouth, we're able to gauge who is this person? What is this person all about? There's a very pithy saying, I'm not sure in the Gemara or in the Mishnah, right? Well, there we say, the Mishnah says that I found nothing better than silence, right? And the way it goes further is until a person opens his mouth, everyone might think he's smart, right? But after
King
that point,
Solomon.
after that, King Solomon,
King
Nissim
Solomon.
said. But after that, right, it's anyone's guess, right? But certainly our dibor is what allows us to see who is this person that I'm dealing with. Ubotie brit kruta beinehem uvein elokim vavadav, and it's through speech that we're able to make a covenant, an agreement between people and between God and His servants. Uvedibor yishuv adam imavotav, and with words a person can express regret over certain things that we might have done wrong. Vivakesh kaparat amonotav, and can seek atonement for misdeeds. V'hu haraya al chashivut ha'adam ugriuto. And once again, this is a very good indication on what a person has to say on the loftiness of a person or on that person's lowliness. Ukvar nemar, it's already been stated, ki ha'adam, a person is halev v'halashon, right? It's the person's heart and it's the person's tongue, right? What's inside and how it is expressed out. Ubo hashlamat geder ha'adam. And that is what makes a human being unique. Ratzulamar hadibur. It's speech that brings us up into, like I mentioned before, there's the inanimate, there's the animate, there's the animal world, and there are the speakers. That's what brings us into Kigeder Ha'adam. That category of humankind is Chai, Midaber, Mate. One who lives, one who speaks, and one who then dies. Right? And we discussed this before. The value of being one who dies is that is motivation to utilize our time very well, because we recognize, we all admit, as much as we don't want to think about it, but we all know that there is an expiry date on each and every one of us, and therefore that is a great driving force to utilize our time well. Ubo nivdal min ha-behemot, and that is what differentiates us from the animals. The achakach hashuv b'malot otiyot hamichtav v'aktiva, right? The gains of letters, of the ability to write. Asher behena mechabrim maaseh ha'ovrim. With that, we're able to know about what happened amongst the Ovrim, the previous generations, Va'nimtsaim, and those who are here now, V'inyaneim, and to teach lessons about them, Laba'im acharehem, to those who are coming afterwards, Umagiim divreim, and like that, our words can reach El Mi She'eino Nimtza Imahem, even those who are not within speaking distance of where I am. V'yodim divrei harichokim mehem, and we can learn words of those who are far from us. V'inyanei kroveim, and along with those, as we can, those who are nearby. Asher be'eretz acheret, and those who even off in a completely different land, right? I mean, in our world, we have our voice messages and our texting and our phone calls and our Zoom classes and you name it. But it was through, right? How are we gaining all this wisdom? through the art of writing, they were able to soak in the words of Rav Bachya, the Chovot Halevavot, the duties of the heart, written well over 1,000 years ago. But because of this, we're able to access it. She'efshar shebhagiyam eleim chaye rucham v'hatzalatam eratam ushchitutam, and words that we are gaining from afar, whether it's from earlier generations or from our generation from afar, that can lift a person's spirit, that can save a person from a predicament they're in, or that can help guide a person if they're off on a dangerous path. Ubot kayemna hachachmot b'sfarim, and it's through that the wisdom becomes available to us in the different sfarim, different books. V'yitchabru anyanim hamufuzarim b'levavot, and we're able to gather together the thoughts that might be scattered in our own hearts. Right? How often is it that if we're feeling confused about something, if we try to write it down, all of a sudden we can start to see things in a much clearer fashion. All the business deals, right? Nowadays, how many trees are sacrificed for every contract that goes in? But all the details of the deals are all written down. Uschora, valva'a, loans, kinyan, acquisitions, nisuin, marriages, gerushin, divorces, va'anyan rav mehashlim. So it's so fascinating, right? These things that we look at. Well, this is human. This isn't what God gave us. This is human institutions. Yes, but we're supposed to look at Hashem, God, who gave us the seichel, who gave us the mind, in order to have all of these things that we just take for granted. But again, to open up our eyes to have an appreciation. Umehashlamot hatova, pace is good. Umehashlamot hatova al ha'adam, and from another aspect of God's goodness to humankind, shuchnu kaf etzbaot l'takein bahem haroshem, that we have our hand, our palms, our fingers, that we can do engraving, v'michtav, and writing, v'har kama, and we could also do, I think there's some sort of a weaving, ukedichat ha'esh, and that we can also create fire, v'shar ha'ma'asim, v'amlachot hadakot, and so many other actions, fine artisan work, mibaladei shar minei chayim, right, which other animals, right, do not do, mipnei she'enam swichim lahem. Right, we're always amazed. Wow, this animal was using a stone to crack this open. Wow, they're making tools, and we're amazed. And then look at what, every time we drive somewhere, it's like, how am I going 85? How am I going 65 miles an hour? Right? It's just incredible. We just take it for granted. Right? V'omer, and we say, ki ein either. There's not a single limb. Shezacharti to'alotav, that I've mentioned the benefits. She'ein simani ha'chachma nir'im, that we don't see such incredible wisdom. Bahar kavato, in its composition. Utchunato, and its form. V'chiburo, and how it all comes together. L'mi shemitbonein b'hem, to someone who looks into that. And certainly, we now understand on a cellular level, on a microcellular level. It's just, as I say, astounding. The Eidu Tam, and that testimony, Chazaka, is so strong. V'rayatam, and their proof, Giluya, is so revealed. Al Chemlat Habore Aleinu. It's such clear proof on God's compassion on us. Ukvar bi'er galinus, the Kamasfarim. This was the Gray's Anatomy of his time, written not by Gray, but written by Galinus, as he's written in many Sfarim, many books, To'alot ha'ivarim be'er hetev, about all the advantages of all the different parts of the body and the wonders of that. Ve'ilu hayinu mechuvanim leva'er et zeh be'ever echad levado. And if we would focus on all the wonders of a single part of the body, hayinu yotzim b'dvarim migvul haderech haktsara, then we would already go beyond the shortened version, which is our purpose here. Ubamashe venu, and with that I've brought, the little tidbits, dai laha'ir, that's enough to point in the direction, misha yoro habore, derech hatzalatov as Hashem. That how Hashem is showing us the way, literally hatzalah, right, is to the way to save ourselves, meaning the way to focus ourselves and make sure that we live our life with our minds and hearts open and appreciative for all the wonders that we have. Habechina b'Shaar minei achayim, and that which we can see by other living things. Van hagatam, and the way that they are guided. Umechiatam, and how they stay alive. Einenu ne'elemet, is not hidden mimish mistakel bahen, from one who looks into these things. Umitbonein, and contemplates. Simani hachachma mehen, these signs of wisdom. Va'al kein shonim otam hasfarim. Bizachram pliyot habore yit'aleh. And therefore these matters are mentioned many times. Shonim, they're repeated many times in books, in texts, which speak about the wonders of the Creator. Kamosha Amar le'Iyov, like it was said to Eov. This is already towards the end of Eov, when God appears to him and gives the answer. Sorry? No, it's a different sefer. Yeah. Right? And gives what he said to Eov, Mi yachin la'orev tzido, who prepares for the raven its sustenance, ki yiladav, that its children, el kel yishavu, to God they call out, they supplicate. V'amar, and say, notein levehema lachma, he gives to the animal its, literally its bread, meaning its sustenance. Livnei orev, to the children of the raven, asher yikra'u, when they call out, v'harbe ke'ela. And fascinating how everything, right, eats and is eaten and is all part of this incredible chain, down to the single cell organisms and bacteria, how they have what they need, and then just working their way up the food chain, how everything is taken care of. Reminds us of that famous Mishnah at the end of Masechet Kedushin. The Daf Yomi is starting Kedushin tomorrow, right? The famous Mishnah. I think Rabbi Nahorai says that I've never seen a fox that's running a store. I've never seen a horse that's doing this, and they have their sustenance, and they were created to help me, to serve me, and I was created to serve God. So certainly I shouldn't have any issues, any difficulties in my sustenance. And if I am having, it's because I haven't been doing the right thing. But we see in the world, incredible how each thing is taken care of. The cane, and similarly, kishehu ma'ayin b'merutzat hagalgalim. When we look up into the heavens and we see the stars, the constellations, hachalukim b'tnuot mishtanot, each one going in its orbit, in its cycle. Hama'orim hachalukim l'sader inyan hakol, and those that are arranged, right, to array Hama'orim, and the luminaries through which God is overseeing this world. Right? This universe, right? This actually ever expanding universe. And with all of our scientific knowledge and gains in physics, right? We're just scratching. We're scratching the surface, right? It's the way that the scientists realized that there really was a big bang, there was a start of the universe, and was not a constant state, is that they were able to measure this ever expanding universe. Right? What does that mean? What is it expanding into? Meaning, what is beyond that universe that we then expand into? Right? And not only that, but majority of the universe, we're now finding out, is black holes. Right? So when we read in Bereshit that Hashem separated the Or and the Choshech, the light and the darkness, right, as if they are two entities. So we always view darkness as the absence of light. So it's not two separate entities. But now physics tells us, oh, you better believe, not only is it two separate entities, most of our universe is made up of that entity, of this entity of darkness, these black holes which absorb everything with their strong gravitational pull, including any photons, any light. And therefore, it is an entity, right? That is this incredible universe that we're in. And you see there the wisdom and the ability of Hashem, of this incredible, incredible universe that works with such precision. She'ein machshavat ha'adam mesugelet la'sigota. That the thoughts of humankind don't have the ability. I'm sorry, I jumped. Sorry. Mashalo tachileu machshavat ha'adam. Something that the thoughts of humankind cannot fathom it. V'yileh, and will become wearied. L'sapram b'lashon, our mouths can't tell the story. Kamo Shomer David, like King David said, Olav Hashem, in Tehillim, Hashamayim, Misaprin, Chovot kel, the heavens, they tell of the honor of God, Umase Yadav, Magir Harikia, and the firmament, they tell us, Mase Yadav, the hand, the craft of his hands. The Shaar HaMizmor, and the rest of that whole chapter in Tehillim, chapter 19. V'amar, he says in Tehillim, Psalms number 8, Ki areh shamecha, when I see the heavens, ma'aseh etzba'otecha, the work, the creations of your fingers, yareach v'kochavim, asher konanta, the moon, the stars that you have established, right? You know, you go to a place where we don't have all of the light pollution that we're accustomed to, and you're able to see a starry night, right? All right, in all of its glory. It is so overwhelming. Umina mufla, and amongst the wonders, the mashanofelet alav ayin adam me briot haborit yitale agdolot, right, of the great things God created. Hashamayim, ki b'kol makom shu omeid min haaretz, wherever we're standing on this earth, yireh chatzia galgalos havevet haaretz, we see this incredible expanse, this kippah, this arch of the heavens, which surrounds our planet, our earth. Uk'shemistakel bo ha'adam, when a person looks at that, derech Habechina, with this discerning eye, with this eye that sees the hand of God and the wonders, and doesn't just take it for granted because we're so accustomed to seeing it. Yireh ki abore oto bichefzo. You see that the one who chose to create this, ein tachlit li'cholato, v'chachmato v'gadalo. There is no limit to his ability, to his wisdom, and to his greatness. Ki kasher anachnu ro'im, like when we see mimase binyan b'nei adam hakodmim, when we see something that was created by the earlier generations, me'uma, right? And we see something like we see an arch, right? Or we see a pyramid. We see something that was built, or we take the Kotel tunnel tours and we see those sized rocks weighing hundreds of tons that were transported there and that were perfectly leveled and placed so perfectly that all the stones that went on top of that, without any need for any cement or anything like that, that it all had this stability. And we're amazed. Wow, how do they have that engineering ability? Nitma al yichalatam. We wonder how they have the ability la sot kamohu to do something like that. V'yorenu, and that shows us al cheskat gufam v'yikrat nafsham. That shows us the physical abilities of, well, there are loads of slaves working. V'yikrat nafsham, and their incredible initiative that they had. La sotam mivtzar chazak latzmam, to make that as this fortress for themselves. The kasher yigdal b'einenu zeh ma'at hamizar, and when that is what makes us be amazed, v'amase hagavoa hazeh, right? And when we see I'm sorry, v'amase hanivza hazeh, right? And we see, okay, so they built a pyramid. Okay, they built these arches. What does that do for me today? What do I gain from that? Virtually nothing. So if that's how we react when we see this somewhat wondrous thing that earlier generations did, Kama anu chayavim, how much more so are we obligated, shetigadel to mihatenu, that our wonder, our amazement, our awe should be al borei shamayim va'aretz, on the creator of heaven and earth, the chol asher bahem, and all that it contains, mibli yigia v'toreach, that God did this without any hard work, without any burden. Udelo leut vamel, without getting tired. Me'ein davar, and created it all from nothingness. Right? The Big Bang, as science now believes, is this incredible explosion out from which all of matter that we have today formed. All the matter of the universe was formed at that, right? In our way of describing that, we call that yesh me'ayin, creating something from nothingness. Velo al davar, and it was not that God was forced or had to do it. Ella, rather, birtsono v'cheftso. Rather, that was his ratzon, his will. Chefetz, that was his desire. Kamoshen emar, as it says, bidvar Hashem, with the word of Hashem, shamayim naasu, the heavens were made, uvuruach piv kol tzvaam, and with the breath of his mouth, all of those hosts. It's funny when people look at the rich biodiversity of the world. So then it's, wow. So that was evolution, right? Evolution. You have these random mutations and survival of the fittest, and it keeps on going. Now, of course, mathematically, the chance of that happening without some governing force above is 1 to the enough zeros to get us from here literally to the moon, right? But fair enough. Once something is alive, as if being alive itself isn't a wonder, but there is this evolution that does take place, right? We see that with coronavirus, how it keeps mutating into different forms. So yeah, but in the inanimate world, when we're looking at the solar system and all these heavenly bodies, right? And the incredible, I think it was Einstein who said, that the mathematics of the world, there's no reason why everything needs to be why everything needs to work exactly mathematically the way it does. But it shows us that there is a seder, that there is an order. And it's for us as we walk around each day and take each step of our life to have our hearts, our eyes first, and then our hearts and our souls open to the wonders of God that are all around us, whether it's in our interactions with others or just viewing this world. I mean, it is viewing ourselves, mi v'sarai echsef, my own flesh I see, and to be in constant awe. Children are always amazed. Wow, why is this? Why is that? As we get older, we kind of just get a little bit jaded. And I would say Shaar Habechina is to try to become unjaded and to have that wide-eyed wonder as we see all that which is around us. What paragraph are we stopping off at, Melvin? Yes, but what's the number paragraph on
46.
46? Okay, I'll jot that down. Okay, good. Okay, just one second.